Go on.
Hello there, where you been?
Hello there, Eggle. I just sat down. Not seen you all day.
A little bit of smut there.
Well, it's a bit cold out, so I thought I'd put on a bit of my Eastern jacket when I went off to the east.
Alright.
And I've just come back from the town of Nottingham, from the market.
Yeah.
I've just been buying some food, and I got a wagon coming tomorrow. So I bought quite a bit to get in stock for winter, as you do. I mean, I got some silver. Why not spend your money?
What sort of stuff you got there?
Oh, I got some nice, some nice dried meat coming. Got some venison, some boar. I got a couple of barrels of parsnips coming. A load of dried peas.
Have you heard of the new vegetable, the carrot?
The carrot, is that
Purple.
Purple?
Yeah.
Purple?
Purple or white, depending on your preference.
No.
Jolly nice, chopped up.
And it got me thinking, this could be a great video to talk about Anglo-Saxon food.
Now isn't that a coincidence?
What are the chances of that?
Yeah, who'd have thought it? Anyway, so I think we ought to put them right about Anglo-Saxon diet.
Yes, indeed.
Contrary to what you might think, meat was a rarity. Most people lived on vegetables. In fact, it would be quite a smelly time because you had leeks, onions, garlic, yum.
Cabbage.
No, that didn't come until the 12th century.
Oh.
It's from Russia, of all places.
Oh.
Where it was a delicacy. And the most important of all, the yellow peas pudding. And basically, the poor peasantry would live on peas pudding most of the time. This is a time before potatoes, and I love potatoes.
Oh, you doesn't love chips, fries, do you Americans?
Yeah, or mashed spud.
Oh, mashed potato and sausages with
Ooh.
gravy.
But again, sausages would have been around. Well, it is. The skins are the entrails of the beast, washed out, of course.
Naturally.
Packed with the various meats and herbs. I won't tell you what we call it today, because we get closed down. But it's all the yellow wobbly bits that you don't want that are made into sausages today. And of course, there's our old friend, black pudding.
Oh, yes.
I happen to like black pudding. I think it's one of those things you either like or you don't.
I love it. Fried breakfast, black pudding.
With
essential.
a fried egg on top.
Well, yes.
And of course, that's something else. Eggs.
Eggs.
Now, not necessarily chickens' eggs. You've got duck, geese, and of course, wild birds. And it's a good way of getting rid of the children for the morning. Go and find us some eggs in the forest.
Did they eat swan in those days?
Yep.
There you go.
There was no they'd eat swan. And there's, of course, wild boar. Delicious but dangerous.
Very dangerous. Very delicious.
There's also venison and bear. That sounded a bit kinky, that, didn't it?
It did, yeah, but of course, I'm thinking about venison.
Oh,
Of course, we don't eat bear in modern society, do we, really?
You go to Alaska, mate.
Well, maybe
still
so,
there.
yeah. Well,
Apparently
fair
it tastes delicious. One of our American friends, you know the guy who...
Celtic God, yes.
Yeah, he killed 2 bears.
I'd love to eat bear.
Oh,
I love a bear fur.
yeah, now you're talking.
Oh, yeah, bear claws.
You're not allowed to export them, I don't think.
No, that could be true.
But anyway, there's that as well. But the best time really to be a peasant would be autumn time. And that is when you kill off your stock that you can't afford to keep. You can only eat so much, so let's have a party and bring the sun back. The time to be more frugal with your food is springtime, ironically. That's the time when animals are starting to mate. That's the time when the trees are in blossom but no fruit. And in the Victorian times they talked about autumn, the time of mellow fruitfulness. Spring was time when people died of starvation, which seems very odd, but that's how it is. You got trees in blossom, it looks like you're going to live well, but blossom ain't fruit, not yet.
I know, but you can get blossom like elderflower and make it into wine. Would they have done that?
I suppose some of
I think they would have known about it.
Well, they'd have probably known about it, like rose hips and syrup, but the thing is, does it grow where you're growing? And also, you're having to plough a lot.
Well, yes, and let's face it, if you're busy ploughing, you haven't got time to go out foraging for extra food, have you?
No, but also, I mean, you have drinks. You can't drink the water safely, so you make that into ale.
Well, most of the water was unsafe. A small amount of water would have been safe from springs, but
Yeah.
I think you would have been quite lucky to live by a spring which was healthy and free from disease and whatever's in the water.
Yeah, they'd have made beer and stuff like that. Honey is mead. It's the only sweetness you've got. Again, not everybody had availability of honey, and if you got a hive, you kept hold of it as much
Well, of
as
course
you
so.
could.
And the beekeeper was very important in those days. I mean, it's the only sweetness you can get.
Then there's, of course, wine, which is a subject. Now, the actual wine they made in this country was more fruit juice, but what you wanted was Frankish wine.
Oh, yes.
That means expense, and it was worth a slave a flagon. And
Get me a barrel of that, I'll be happy.
yeah, well, you'd have to lose a servant to get it, but there's that as well. So, and there's also food traditions. You've seen at medieval feasts at Yuletide the head of the boar, and it would be decorated and garnished, ready for consumption.
Of course, that carried on into the 16th, 17th century, didn't it? That
It is
tradition.
a hangover from pagan times with the Lord Frey, Lord of the Forest,
Yes.
and his golden hair bristled wild boar Gullinbursti, and that the head was in acknowledgement of that, and part of the 12 days of Christmas, where everybody got absolutely sloshed, which seems to be a tradition that's carried on in a lot of areas, not everywhere, but some of it. And then, of course, we've got the old traditional beef. Beef, again, would be sort of autumnal time. There was a time in the spring called Tramilky, when it meant you could milk the cows 3 times over. With the milk, again, you've got to be careful, but they would make cheese. Cheese, again, is one of the earliest form of food we know of, dating back to ancient Egypt. Simply, you get your milk, full cream milk, you drop lemon juice in it, the curds separate from the whey, the curds you take away and make the cheese from, the whey you feed to the pigs.
Also, older folk would have drank whey, and also children. Because it was a very good drink full of vitamins and, all the stuff you need.
Once you've got your curds, you cut them up into bits, put them in a bit of muslin, in a mould, press it down, leave it to drain out, and you've got cheese.
So let's talk about Anglo-Saxon feasts, because they were very well known, weren't they, for having big feasts. There you are, it's a special time of year. There's Eggle and Braggy, and we're being invited to the Lord's Hall.
Now,
Can you set the picture for these lovely folks at home, wherever you may be? What would a feast look like, and how would it gone about?
well, imagine it's Yuletide.
Yes.
We turn up, we are relieved of all our weaponry
Yes, so
by a door
your
warden.
knife would have been taken off you.
Well, you
Unless
probably
it's
had
your eating knife.
your eating knife would have kept. You would then arrive on time, because if you didn't, you had to pay a forfeit.
Really?
Yeah, and if you were late, you had to say a poem or do a turn of some description.
You could do a dance.
Well, whatever, but it's an apology for being late. Where you sit designates your ranking in society. The Jarl would sit at the head, his wife to the right, another woman to the left, maybe the wife of his second in command.
Where will we be sitting?
Pretty high up, probably on the high table.
Oh, good.
Depends who's invited us.
Olaf, bring some venison.
I think if certain people wouldn't have been invited me. Okay, you're sitting at your table. In front of you is a circle of bread. Now this bread, when they cook it, it's like 2 discs. When you cut it, the lower crust goes to the common people. The upper crust is used as a plate. Now, out comes the wild boar stew, we'll say, with vegetables. It's very sexual. You put it on the plate and you eat using your fingers and a knife, maybe a spoon, and then you flip it over and the next course on that. After that, that is then given to the poor people. So as a form of largesse, then you probably get another loaf. They would have butter, maybe honey, apples,
Oh, yes. Pears.
pears.
Plums.
Yeah, but The plums would be
Much
yay
smaller.
big, yeah. And you'd eat the whole thing, stone included.
Really?
Oh yes, we found that in Jorvik. Apples would only be about that big, like a crab apple size. You'd eat the whole of that. But there'll be plenty of merriment. There'll be people juggling and various other turns.
Poetry being recited.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've been to some of the reenactment
Oh, of
pieces,
course so, yes.
and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
They're great times.
Yeah,
You can get very drunk, though.
yeah.
This is the aim, isn't it?
Well, in pagan times, it's called it's a celebration to Odin. When you're sick, it's Odin's dart. But anyway, that's by the by. So you've got a mixture of food, but we're used to having a main course, a sweet, and in posh places you have a starter.
Yes. Soup.
But it isn't that way. That didn't come in till about the 19th century.
Oh, right.
It was service à la Russe, where they divided up courses. But you have what you have, and maybe there'll be some wild fowl, duck, stuff like that. Chicken, I don't know, and in fact I need your help with this from the public. I was told hen, as we know it, was brought in the 12th century. I don't know. Perhaps you can tell me. I know pheasants came in the 12th century.
Because I thought cabbage was much earlier as well.
No, cabbage was a royal food in Russia.
Was it?
Oh yeah. I like a bit of cabbage.
What a lovely country to go to.
Oh yeah. But again, food, there's fish.
Yeah, shellfish. That's
Now,
one thing we did.
fish is something important.
Yes.
In the Christian period, you were allowed no meat on fish days. However, you could eat an otter because an otter ate fish. You could eat whale because whales come from the sea.
Oh, yes.
You could eat seal because it ate fish and came from the sea. And it was very important, the diet of fish, if you could afford to observe it. I mean, it must have been hell here because we're right in the middle of the country. So you'd have to be probably fresh fish.
Well, it'll be river fish and shellfish and...
But I mean, you've got oysters, mussels, cockles, whelks, winkles.
Eels.
Eels, yeah. And there's a special way of killing an eel.
Yeah.
What they do, they get the said eel and you cut a trench in the shape of a cross and you put it belly up, and it's said that it's the devil's fish, so the cross kills it. Takes a long time. I've never eaten eel, but I've never really fancied. But here's something. I know that in the past, the apprentices of York complained because they had salmon 5 times a week.
Well, that's luxury, isn't it? And
when we dug in York, the most common thing we found was oyster shells, and of course claret. So the poor of what we're talking about, 1200s, were living on oyster and claret.
I mean, that's a very good
salmon.
lifestyle, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but I mean,
they eat better than you.
most people do. Although I've got fish fingers, can you smell? But yeah, you know, I mean, there's also herbs that you can pick from the hedgerow. I always crack him up. And of course, there's wild garlic.
Oh yes.
If you go to Cromford,
Yes.
where the bus stop is,
You get it round Derby.
yeah.
By the river.
But if you get this is let me finish. Round the bus shelter, the green metal one.
Yes.
You go about August time, and the smell of garlic. You can eat the flowers and the leaves, and the root, but they all have a different intensity of flavour. But it's also where Arkwright used to walk.
And who's Arkwright for the folks who've never heard of him?
Well, Arkwright was King Daddy of the Industrial Revolution.
There you go.
Without him, we wouldn't have clothes.
We kind of invented the Industrial Revolution in Derby, didn't we, to a degree?
You're leading with your chin on that one.
Yeah, well, it's debatable.
If you go to Lancashire, they'll say, we invented it. You go to Yorkshire, they invented it. You come to Derbyshire, we invented it. Hey, it just happened around the same time.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's the theory that the first modern factory was in Derby. Maybe, maybe not. But I think the Romans might have had a...
Well, I think the
say in
Romans
it.
were more industrialised in production than anything, you know.
Well, even in the Neolithic period, they were producing beads of a standard shape and size.
Well, yes.
So, you know, go figure. Anyway, that's not to do with food, is it?
No, not really. You can't eat a bead.
Well, you
And
can.
I mean the glass thing, not the person.
Either way, it comes out in the end.
Now, I think it was more. If you was an Anglo-Saxon compared to a Viking, I think as a Viking you had more freedom of choice when it comes to food.
Well,
Is that true?
Also, yeah, because the Vikings were travellers. They would go to the Middle East, and the Middle East diet is very different.
Oh yes, dried dates.
Never mind dried dates. You try fresh dates. They are gorgeous. And the Middle Eastern diet, I love it. They put in fruit and nut.
Of course so.
They knew what they were doing.
Dried apricots.
Yeah.
Bit of dried beef.
I once had a whole bag of 8 dried apricots, and let's just say me and the porcelain were great friends. But no, Arab food and things like that. You got things like falafel, which is, you go even further. You get vegetarian societies, and of course there's great inventiveness.
Yes, I'd probably starve to death in those societies, Eggle. Being a meat eater.
You say that. I was a vegetarian for 8 years.
Was you?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Well, I had a kebab.
Yes.
And I thought it was the meat. I couldn't digest anything for about 4 days. And I thought, okay, we'll cut out meat, and everything was hunky-dory.
Yeah.
And
for 8 years.
I was there with my beloved ex-beloved.
Hello.
And her neighbour gave me a chili, and it reproduced it. Then, right, I had a pork pie, and there's a spiritual side to the pork pie, let me tell you. I could taste the herbs and spices.
Do you have mustard on your pork pie or pickle?
No, I don't have anything.
It's got to be mustard. Bit of side dish of mustard.
Oh, I've had mustard on it, but I just...
How old is the pork pie, do you think? Can you explain what a pork pie is for the folks at home who don't know what it is?
Especially to people abroad. A pork pie is a pie, obviously, and the pastry is made with hot lard, water and flour. And originally it was just a case to hold the meat. Inside you have belly pork, among other bits of pork, which is roasted, cooked, and then you put the lid on. You cook it, and then with the hole in the top you pour in jelly from the trotter's or calf's feet. This is a savoury jelly that stops the meat wobbling around and is one of the best parts of it. And it was a convenient food that you could hold, a bit like the pasta. You could hold it and eat it and throw away the pastry. But eventually, like today, most people eat the pastry as well. I know I do.
Oh, that's the best bit.
And for our foreign friends, if you want to experience a real proper pork pie, go to Melton Mowbray.
Oh yes.
That's protected status.
Leicestershire.
Yeah, and I tell you, they are. It's again, if you like meat and pastry, you'll like this. If not,
I did a reenactment there once.
Yeah.
And some guy got his tent burnt down by his ex-wife. And all he found in the morning was the outline of the tent where it was, and he managed to get out of the tent in time.
But for those gourmets among you, I would suggest you have a pint of bitter or a pint of stout.
IPA for me.
All right, but a beer with pork pie.
Yes.
Is gorgeous.
And it's got to be a small pork pie, not a big pork pie, because you can have too much meat in a pork pie.
I remember when I was in the TA, we had a private called Piggy Hall. And to quote my mother, he had a face like a poor man's backside. And in the army, you have to have a fried breakfast of 3,000 calories.
Yes.
Which is nice. I don't like the porridge, but there you go. Piggy Hall had a £2 pork pie before that. Then the breakfast. Then he was still sniffing around for food. He was a big boy. But anyway, the pork pie, as I say, was sort of, I think it was about 18th century.
Right, so it's not an old thing then.
Well, yeah. But you can get good pork pies and bad pork pies.
Now, before we summarise this video and we end this video, let's just talk about how in modern society we have overeating and people overweight. Was that the same thing in the Dark Ages? Would you have seen people overweight?
Fat people were very rare indeed, largely because the availability of food and also the fact that most people had tapeworms or stomach parasites. To be the size you are now, you'd have to eat 3 times the amount you do now.
Yes.
And when you went to the lavatory, you would pass tapeworms. And that's how we found out that they had these.
And of course, life was so much more active in those days.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you think nothing of going out. Of going out and digging all day, or ploughing, or clearing weeds.
I've got no laugh for that.
Yeah, or even if you're quite a wealthy man, which you are,
Indeed.
you've still got to get the food in.
In the Dark Ages.
Yeah, you would have to ride out and get the food, and that's not, okay. Deer aren't going to come peacefully, neither a wild boar. And then, of course, you've got people who might try and steal it off you.
Yes.
It all takes energy. So, yeah, fat people were very, very rare. But, maybe when people got to be of their age where they couldn't
And it is a
work.
problem in society today, people overeat, they don't exercise enough. Now, I've got a little tip when you are eating. This is what I often do. When I eat the meal, I have a knife and fork in my hand, and I'll take a bite, and I'll put my knife and fork down. And I'll close my eye, and I'll savour the taste of the food. You get more food enjoyment, and it slows down your eating, which fills you up. Greggy's tip.
There's my tip.
Yeah.
Take a pint of water.
Good. That's another good tip.
But anyway, like he says, the trouble is today, we have too much food in some areas and not enough in others. We are encouraged to be gluttonous. We have a whole industry of gluttons who are paid a lot of money to eat all kinds of ridiculous foods that we don't need to eat. I mean, I saw a programme where they're eating tarantulas.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
And there's another one where these two cooks were cooking snails.
I mean, leave that for the French.
Well, the thing is, there's no need to eat snails.
No, they belong in the garden.
No, and there's plenty of food around. And
We're eating slugs next.
Oh, it's just disgusting. But even the amounts of food, I mean, I've learnt since I've been on universal credit, you have to limit it. And there are times when I have to ration what I eat. The last month, I was on a diet of sprouts and gravy. Good job I live alone, isn't it?
Sprouts and gravy.
Yeah, that's all I'd got.
Oh, well, you could have said I would have bought you something.
Yeah, well,
Come round here, I would have fed you a good meal.
But, this month I've got a load of stuff in.
Well, at least I gave you a nice Christmas.
You certainly did. I had a brilliant Christmas, thanks to you, Rob, and Helen.
Well, it's what you do for your friends and your pals. Look after folk people. Look after your friends.
And my sister. I never realised I had so many friends. I had 3 puddings at one point.
To be kind and to offer kindness and love is free in this world.
Well, I mean, I had 3 Christmas puddings at one point.
Oh, my God.
Well, I'd already bought one. Yeah, but one of them was non-alcoholic, so I soon souped that up.
Oh, yeah, well, a bit of brandy. You're laughing, aren't you?
Oh, yes. But anyway, as I say, the average person, we eat too much. We think, I'm bored, let's have a pizza. I'm bored, let's go and have a Chinese. I've done it, and I would do it again, because that's what your body...
Yeah, so let's now end the video for one out of space, and we find that we're not recording.
Yeah, right.
So, I think overall it's a very good, interesting video. No doubt we'll cover this subject again further, and we'll do some more research and find out more information about Dark Age food. We're not food experts, are we? But
No.
we know a little bit.
We eat to live, not live to eat.
Yes,
And that's the difference.
I work to I work to live. This is the way around. I forget now. Anyway, what should they do?
All right, leave us a comment. You may have more information. Hey, we rely on you as well, because there are people out there who know what's what.
And don't forget, click on the old notification bell.
Dear, that's a new one, isn't it? Or hashtag History Talk.
Yes.
Leave us a comment. We will get back to you. There are only 3 of us, and 2 of us are computer literate, and the other one isn't.
Yeah, that's him.
The good-looking one.
Eye candy.
Yeah, that's it. Woof, woof.
He's looking for a girlfriend still.
I certainly am.
Yes.
A woman who likes a pipe-smoking pagan.
From Derby.
Yeah. Preferably dark-haired, but that's not a deal-breaker. And glasses.
Yes, if you've got your mum or your grandma, better go.
No. I'm a breedable quality.
Sorry. He's looking for a lady in your 40s, aren't you?
Don't care.
Younger lady.
Don't care. As long as she's of legal age, mate, and goes for me, and I go for her. But anyway, we
Digress.
this is a family channel.
You shouldn't say that now because of copper.
Huh? Right.
So, although we are family friendly, we don't make content for children.
Right.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Leave a comment.
Woof, woof.
Baby.